Thank you all for joining us. Today we will discuss the future of seminars, panels and trade shows with three very differing perspectives from technology, design and media. We will hear how digital convenings can benefit people, planet and profit. I'd actually like to ask each of my speakers, starting with Annie, to introduce themselves and their work.
Hi guys, my name is Annie Wells and I founded the platform Simply Suzette, which aims to bridge the gap between the denim industry and the consumer through education and information sharing. And I'm also a media and digital media consultant as
well. Okay, so my name is Alex Penades and I work for Jeanologia, a Spanish-based company, but it's a global company, and we develop technologies for getting all denim and non-denim finishing more sustainable and waterless and chemical free.
And my name is it's Adam Taubenfligel. I'm creative director of Triarchy Denim and a co-founder, and we are a sustainable denim brand through and through. And our goal and everything we work towards doing is reducing our footprint and consumption in manufacturing denim, thanks to guys like Jeanologia.
Excellent, thank you. Now, before we deep dive into the future of convenings and events, and specifically looking at a digital aspect, I'm just curious, could you share with us all how much time you would typically spend on the road and attending in-person convenings, whether these are seminars, panels, or trade shows in a year for your business?
Yeah, for me, I'm probably traveling every other month, I'd say, which is bad. I'm trying to rein that in a little bit and pick and choose which events I'm going to, and I've really narrowed it down to only going to trade shows rather than events and seminars now. So I'd say probably 4 to 6 events a year for me.
Which is actually, for some, I just want to say there, for some, that's actually quite good. I think we're going to hear some big numbers from the other speakers.
Well, in my case, I take care of the North American market, but I'm based in Spain. So I normally travel every month for about between 1 and 2 weeks every month and stay in the States for that long. And that not considering all the time that I spend at events, trade shows and conferences. So that's probably half a year just traveling around the world.
And Adam?
I would say every month. I'm on the road every month for sure. If there's a span of like 2 weeks when I know that I'm going to be home, that's quite rare. So I would say visiting with factories, vendors, and then going to markets in various regions for sales as well. So kind of the ebb and flow of that, going from trade shows to seminars to market and things like that. It just kind of is the way the yearly calendar works. So it's kind of an all year thing.
It's a definite in-person is a key part of your business and trade.
Yeah, very much.
Well, it's no secret that events create waste, and yet that we have multiple sustainable events occurring monthly, but the topics very little focus or even part of the discussion on event circular logistics or sustainable operations. Annie, what are the benefits now that we could be looking at with digital seminars and panels around virtual convenings for industry and consumers?
I mean, you know, sustainability seminars, panels, and events have really become a business in itself. And as much as there is value in creating these physical spaces where people can come and engage with people that are like-minded and ask speakers real-time questions, but I'm sure as everyone is becoming aware that that is very doable with video conferencing and webinars and virtual reality. It might not be the exact same, but you know, it works. And especially when we're talking about the topic of sustainability, you know, we really should be driving those values in everything we're doing with the event as well. So digitalizing these events would mean that there's actually no geographic restrictions and less barrier for admittance. So in one sense, it kind of creates this democracy of information where it's accessible to all and not just a few. And, you know, my experience with kingpins, for example, my eyes were completely open when I attended my first trade show. And this event, Kingpins 24, is great because there's actually, it's not invite only this time. It's actually accessible to the average consumer if they wanted to join in. So it's just, I find that there's this disconnect between the consumer and the industry, that the consumer really has no idea the processes that were involved in making a pair of jeans, let alone how many hands might have touched their pair of jeans before buying them in store. But, you know, consumers, they are getting very smart and they want to know how their clothes are being made. So with this growing consciousness, they're showing that they want to learn more about the issues within the industry, but it's really difficult for the average person to find the right information. And I think if this information was widely accessible to consumers, then they'll continue to get smarter and they'll continue to ask the right questions. And also they might learn what signs to look for with unethical production practices. And in general, I think with more access comes more awareness. And when consumers are aware of how the supply chain really functions, then brands who might not be operating within the sustainable development goals will have to start to in order to keep up with this consumer demand. And I find we're always talking about collaborating to move our industry forward and collaboration within the industry, but we really need to be seeing collaboration from everybody. So private, public, civil society, and I think awareness is key. The more awareness there is from the average person, the faster the shift we'll see in consumption habits. And I think this is where we'll start to see a real collaboration happen between the industry and the consumer. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Now, Adam, I'm going to move to you. You shared a pretty extensive travel amount that happens in your business and brand. I'm interested on what you could share here with some insight for us. How would the cost savings from attending and participating from a physical event versus to a digital impact your brand spending and budget?
I love that question very much, because that's something that when I looked at when all of my travel plans canceled for the end of March and for April and for May, I noticed a budget had opened up. I'm like, oh, well, look at all of those resources that would have been spent going to this and this and this and this. And now we have that money. Of course, thankfully, we have that extra resource now. But I'm thinking in normal times, if we had those extra resources to put into R&D and to put into collection development, then it would really allow us to probably do much more in terms of pushing the sustainability agenda and things of that nature. And one thing in particular that I really think is interesting is that we have such a unique, a very unique opportunity within denim, because we're such a unique industry. And there's so many companies that are looking to innovate new technologies that would benefit all of us. And none of them have funding. And so we look at how we all spend to go to these events that could potentially be digital. And then if we did that digitally and we had the extra resources and we invested them into the companies that are trying to make our lives easier, then it actually creates like an ecosystem where the denim brands are helping the companies that are trying to make our lives easier and the planet better. So I started thinking about, how do we really need to be meeting twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year? What if we just did it once a year? What if everyone produced everything we needed to see once a year and we had a budget for that, but then the rest of it was open to so many other possibilities,
Yeah, no, it's so true. And Alex, I'm intrigued there on the technology side. Is there anything there for you to add to that point?
Well, I think that we've been working on digital for a very long time. In fact, everything we do, considering that we work with lasers and that we develop software that goes with them, in our DNA, there's always been this idea of transferring finishing files instead of garments around the world. And so we've been pushing this idea of digitalizing all the processes, from the very choice of the fabric. So picking out the right fabric by knowing parameters that we can digitalize once and then have all that information available from designers to product developers, and then how to design digitally, and just being able to achieve on the screen what you want to get at the end. So what you see is what you get. And that idea has been working, or we've been working on that idea for many years already. Now, we've been, I don't know if this is a kind of a discussion that we can follow, but we are used to choose, okay, either digital or tangible, either, and either we touch or we don't touch. And maybe this idea of integrating both worlds is what we really have to go for. We've been always defending this idea that the digital and high tech does not substitute the artisan, the denim artisan, the artist that's within every designer. The only thing that technology does is to empower people and make them grow and make them better. So why don't we use digital for empowering all this kind of information that flows once, twice, 3 times, n times a year, and integrate it into something that's really powerful from both worlds? So this is kind of a, I've been just trying to think about, what we were going to discuss today. And I think it might be something that we have to think about.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Alex. And it actually brings me to my next question. And Annie, I'd like to start with you and then Adam, hear your thoughts on this. Has digital or virtual sampling proven to be successful in selecting fabrics yet?
I mean, we've started to see digital and 3D sampling gain momentum. Like, Tommy has come out this past year announcing that they're using that technology now. But I think picking fabrics is still not ideal in the digital world. I know there are those haptic kind of, I guess, mimics the feel of fabric, but many are not going to go for that, and they're still going to opt for the hangers and feeling the samples in real life. So I think it won't replace physical samples altogether, but it will reduce the amount of physical iterations needed before a final product, so to get from concept to final product. But I mean, Adam, the designer, has more experience with this than I do. I think you've actually tried one of those before, right?
Yeah, so that's awful. I couldn't do my job if I can't touch the fabric. Like if I can't see the drape and like work with that, then I can't put it into a style. It just doesn't work. So for all of the parts after, for the dry process, like to what Alex was saying, for the laser and for all of those things, absolutely that should only be digital. But for the base, you need to touch it. You need to be in the environment to feel it. And so I think, though, to the technology that they're speaking about, if they can cut my work in half by already telling me which fabrics will react better to those technologies, then that saves me a ton of time, because I don't have to look and test and try and see. I'll know, here's what you can work with. And then from that point, you can create.
Right. Yeah.
So to that point then, you both do agree and stand for that whilst we're at a time to pay attention and think about how we are going to move forward so much more with consideration, but trade shows do require a physical presence. This is not something that can go 100% digital at this time.
I think that if you looked into the footprint of sending headers and samples and swatches and yardage to everybody back and forth to try to make sense of it, then you make your decisions. And then it probably makes a lot more sense to congregate under one roof, see everybody, and do that work. But on the other side of that, I remember listening to Catherine Hamnett speak at the Copenhagen Fashion Summit, and I believe the first thing she said was, I don't really know why I'm here. She's like, why am I not just doing this from my laptop at home? And that really stuck with me, because it's like, yeah, that's probably, this should just be digital,
Annie, anything to add to that?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's true. Like, why do we need to fly our whole team out to a sustainability event or a panel or something like that to just listen to someone speak. I think that that has the potential to become fully digital. And like I said, I know it's not the same as convening in a physical space and being with that, but in terms of this topic and these issues, it only makes sense to do so. And having a physical trade show, I think, not only benefits people's workflow and efficiency or whatnot, all of the explanation that Adam just gave is another environmental reason to do so too. To have your 1 or 2 trade shows a year, you plan and you budget for your team to travel to those, pick all your fabrics for the year, and then you're good. You don't have to travel anymore, really. Because I know also teams will travel to trade shows all across the country, right? Not trade shows, showrooms across the country too. So it's just kind of creating a more efficient route to selecting fabrics and sourcing or not, rather than having to make a bunch of unnecessary trips elsewhere and have a lot of shipments go out and whatnot in place of actually attending a physical trade show. So.
Yeah, and I also wonder what we are seeing a lot now, right, around the COVID-19 crisis that really comes into play is, what about our mental health and putting our health first, okay? And this isn't in just around about going digital, but the less travel, like going to Adam's point, being able to focus more on research and innovation and giving back, whether it's to your teams, to locally, globally, to all these causes. It's a really interesting thing that I think is going to come out of this, that what as teams on the human element are we going to now share and speak up about, that we want to see change as we've been forced to slow down and really think about systematic changes that we want for ourselves that will also benefit our company. And Alex, it now brings me to you. On the back of what Adam and Annie have shared, for your part and perspective of what goes on in the industry, why is setting up and attending trade shows the best way to connect with suppliers?
Well, it's nice to meet the people. It's nice to have their opinions. It's also good to kind of create this sort of a networking relations. All that kind of spontaneous ideas that come up when we all get together. And I still, I think that that's gotta happen, and that's gotta happen, at least as you were mentioning, once a year. I mean, it's good that we all know that during a certain period of time, that's gonna happen. We get ready for that to happen. So when you just keep on jumping from one city to the other city, from one season to the next one, you really, I mean, these comments come and we all say, oh man, this is something that I already seen 6 months ago. Nothing's really changed in 6 months. So we don't want to have that impression anymore. We want to have the impression that when we meet, we really wanted to meet each other. We really did have things to say to each other, new stuff to explain, new stuff to transfer. And that doesn't mean that we are not going to be in contact with the rest of the world for the entire period of time when we are not together physically, but we are together digitally. And all that work is what's really going to build up in a way that it's really adding value to the industry. So as you guys were saying, I mean, we love to measure, okay, at Jeanologia. And when you were mentioning about investing on different things rather than traveling around just like crazy, we should be investing. You should be investing that money into research. When I read figures that say that there are 2 million conventions and trade shows per year only in the US. 2 million. We just, have spend or create 20 pounds of waste per person at each convention or at each trade show. So it's like 580 tons of global warming CO2 emissions and a 3-day convention for 1,000 people. I mean, when we all think about all those things that happen at so many places for so many times around, along the year, we become crazy. So I think that, the fact that we have certain meetings, certain very well-known, dedicated, focused meetings and trade shows at a particular time, it's like a party time. It's like really something to celebrate, to get together and hug each other. As you were saying, Kerry, we miss hugging each other for sure. We have to. I mean, it's not only the emojis that count, okay? So all this story has to happen, and still, meeting the suppliers will be a big event, okay? And human touch will still be there, but we have to play intelligently, and we have to, kind of be efficient and respect Mother Nature. This is the last warning that we have, the last call. I mean, I don't think we'll have another opportunity like this one when all this passes by, and we go through this situation. It won't be many other opportunities. So we have to really be intelligent and play in a better way now.
Thank you so much for that. Oh, sorry, Adam, please.
Just that I think that, again, in denim, we're in a really unique position because of the fabric that we work with. It doesn't need to show newness as often as we're seeing it. Like, if I was able to look at new fabrics once a year, I guarantee that would be enough. I don't need to see in 6 months what, it's like, so if we could change that calendar, and we have the opportunity to reset the entire industry right now, and we could change how we do this. And all the mills and everyone can still make what they're making, but they can do it with a different calendar, and they can show it to us once a year, and we can plan 2 collections with that fabric. It's not a problem. It's denim. It's been around for a really long time, and it doesn't change that much. The innovations, if they came through once a year, I'm pretty sure the pace would be just fine,
And to that point, what I've heard from both of you there, what's really interesting is, Alex, I love that you say, let's plan and play intelligently and efficiently. That is so true to the core right now of when we do come out of this and we step into the new world of what that looks like. That's very sound advice. And Adam, I think something you've just said, which is so true and people need to hear, is even if we convene once a year, we're not changing the financials of what would be going towards the fabrics, the manufacturers, or the mills. And I think that's really interesting and has to be echoed. Like you've just said already, you would purchase as you would for the year, but you only need that one-time meetup.
It's all good. Yeah.
That's really crucial.
And I'm happy that you said that, because it's not about that would affect someone negatively financially. It's just changing the structure of how it's operating.
Again, it goes back to what Alex said, planning intelligently and efficiently. Exactly. And I think I'm going to borrow that, Alex, for my next talk somewhere. I really like that. I will credit you, but thank you. And that will sit with me through this time right now, because I think it's very important. What I would love you each to do, Annie, I will start with you, then move to Alex and Adam. Could you please all share with the audience how everyone can connect with you and learn more about your work? And if there is one solution or service right now that you would love to share, that you're very proud of the work you're doing, whether it's knowledge to an innovation or a product piece, please do share, because we're all right now looking for knowledge, to be educated and engaged, and to really support the sector.
Well, you can find me at www.simplysuzette.com or on Instagram at simplysuzette, which is SIMPLYSUZETTE. And you can honestly just send me a message on Instagram, but my email is also on my website or my Instagram. And honestly, I'd love for everyone to check out the Conscious Fashion campaign, because I am working with them right now. And I am a huge fan of the information sharing platform. So
thank you. Thank you for that plug. That means a lot. Alex?
Yeah, well, you can meet us at www.simplysuzette.com. www.jeanologia.com. There's a lot of information there. There's, of course, you can always reach me out there. Well, I can give you my mail account, but you can always reach me at Jeanologia. I'll be around. They always connect me at the info@jeanologia.com, and I'll be happy. I'm in the US every month. I hope I'll get there
Not right
soon.
now.
Not right now.
Not right now. I don't think they'll let me in.
Everybody just email Alec, please. No trying to fly to meet
Yeah.
him. And is there any solutions right now that are new to the service, or anything you can share that you would love? Out? Alex?
Sorry, is that to me?
Saying,
say that again.
Is there any solutions or services you would like to share right now, or initiatives?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I didn't hear you. So yes, we are today. I mean, in fact, these days it happened that we are launching a beautiful tool called the eDesigner, which will let designers to design from their computers in a very easy way, and then transfer those files to the vendors. And so everything that they design on the computer, they can replicate at whatever their vendors might be. This is a little bit more complex, but it's simple as that in fact. And then many other protocols that we are establishing in terms of how to create sustainable collections, how to measure the impact of each style on the environment, on the people, and so on. So we're there. I mean, we're evolving all our research lines, and we're offering them to the market, to the industry.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on the launch. And Adam?
We are at triarchy.com and on Instagram at Triarchy, Triarchy. And something that was becoming a really prevalent theme for me even before this pandemic that we're experiencing was that sustainability for me really comes back to mindfulness. I believe that the only way to implement and to affect change is if you do so within first. And I think if we can all figure out how to be more mindful, then it'll slow us down, and we won't make decisions based off of impulse, which then will lead to better decisions. So I think right now we have the time to potentially introduce a meditation practice or something of that nature. And so I always like to lead with that and say that it'll cause a ripple effect into everything you do. So.
Brilliant. Thank you so much to all of you for your insight. I'm Kerry Bannigan, the founder of the Conscious Fashion Campaign, in collaboration with the United Nations Office for Partnerships. The Conscious Fashion Campaign was created to bridge the gap between the Sustainable Development Goals and the fashion industry. Thank you everybody for this, and keep staying positive and doing what you're doing. And more so, thank you to Kingpins24 for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Okay.